DETV Sports Update is powered by DART, Delaware's transit service. Moving forward.
Welcome live inside our DETV Wilmington studios on a Monday evening. Another DETV Sports Update coming at you with the whole crew here on a Monday. We've got Rachel, Jason, and Matt all back ready to talk. We've got the NBA playoffs. The bracket is set there. Playing games begin tomorrow night. UConn, since we last talked, brought home that back-to-back national championship. We've got the WNBA Draft coming up in just about 20 minutes, I believe, on ESPN, ABC. You can check out that. Of course, after the show, Mark Pope to Kentucky. We'll reference that a little bit. So a lot to get into, and as well as the NFL Draft just a week and a half away in Detroit. So an action-packed week of sports, 2 weeks coming up. So we're going to dive right in. How's everybody doing here on a Monday evening?
Doing good. Doing good.
Well,
good weekend for everybody.
Yes.
Great weekend. You around this weekend?
Here you go. I knew you were going to ask me. So I had to drive down to D.C. on a Saturday. My wife is a member of the NMA, National Medical Association, which is Black Doctors Organization. So I had to go down to a banquet in D.C. Tie into sports was that Colin Kaepernick was one of the awardees. He did not attend, but he was one of the awardees at the event on Saturday. So I got a chance to go down, spend some time with the missus, and have some big fun in D.C.
He's always having fun. That's why we always got to ask. We got to figure out what's going on. But like I mentioned, a lot to get into. Matt, how you doing today?
Doing good, man. Been busy, man. Been on Synergy. Been making calls. Right? Man, it's been crazy. Portsmouth
you gotta go to Portsmouth.
Yeah, it's been crazy, man. So, just that time of the year, baby.
That's right. We'll be diving into everything NBA draft with Matt and the rest of the crew as we get into draft season. Of course, the playoffs beginning tomorrow. Rachel, how you doing? Welcome back for another edition here. Thrilled to have you. UConn national champs. We all predicted that. How was your weekend?
my weekend was wonderful. I'm just excited about the WNBA draft. I'm excited to see where these ladies are going to be placed. I mean, we kind of know who's going to be in at least the first top 10, at least, but I'm excited. I'm excited for the young ladies, and it's been a great season for women's basketball.
So you got a draft. Maybe we kind of have an idea of where people are going to end up, as Rachel mentioned, but I also want to get your guys' big boards and see who you guys think is your top players coming into the draft tonight. We'll talk a little bit about that. So let's begin with this. It's about 20 minutes away before that gets underway.
Yep.
The WNBA Draft, the Indiana Fever hold that number one pick. Of course, odds are they will select Caitlin Clark with that pick number one. And then obviously to follow the draft, as you guys mentioned, not set in stone, but there's a good idea of what's going to happen there. Just your guys' initial thoughts on the WNBA Draft. What are you maybe looking for? What do you think is the most interesting topic heading in tonight, Matt? We'll start with you.
It's probably the Sparks. They got 2 top 5 picks. The money says they'll take Cameron Brink at 2. But the person of interest is probably Rakia Jackson. She could go, 3, or she can go falls down to 5. It just depends. So be real interested to see what they do with that.
Rachel, what do you think about coming into the draft tonight? Anything you're looking for specifically, or anything could be interesting?
For personal reasons, I have one of my former players who played for me. She started out at James Madison, and she transferred over to Louisville. Her name is Kiki Jefferson, and she's graduating from Louisville, and she entered the draft. She's predicted like number 30, maybe second round. So I'm interested to see where she's going to go.
Yeah,
I think she would.
Sure.
She would.
There.
Yeah, she will work well in the NBA. She's coming in with some skills. She has a lot of energy. She'll bring a lot of team energy, a lot of experience. She's well knowledgeable about the game. So I think that's interesting. It's so more personable to me.
Definitely. Jason, what do you think? What are you looking for tonight, if anything in particular?
I'm looking forward to seeing how fast the 3 teams we mentioned, 3 teams that should be mentioned who lost their top scorer, rebounder, Sparks, the Sky, and the Mystics, how they retool in the draft. And I think with the Sky at picks 3 and 7, I think you have to go Cardoza and Angel Reese to just rebuild that team. You have to go heavy hitters like that. But also, I'm interested, like I said, to see what the Mystics do. Pretty much they're like the hometown team for me. So, making sure we see what happens in the draft. But also, shout out to the there are about 3 or 4 HBCU entrants in this WNBA draft this year. Yes. So shout out to them. And also shout out to the WNBA for capitalizing on this most recent college basketball season. On the first time you have a live draft with people in the audience since 2016, so pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one tonight for sure. Let's dive into some of the players you guys maybe have on your big boards, or what you think the drafts it would be like in your eyes, or if you were maybe drafting for some of these teams. Matt, you do a lot of work with obviously the NBA Draft and WNBA Draft as well here. What do you think is maybe your big board? What are you looking at as maybe the 5 or 10 best players? Go whatever how many you want to go with for tonight's draft. If you were these GMs, what order would you select these players?
I mean, I probably would go Caitlin Clark, Cardoza. I'd probably Rakia Jackson. I love the way that she scores and takes people off the dribble. Then followed by probably Cameron, and then Alicia Edwards, I really think is being slept on a little bit. And then, of course, Angel Reese, who I think has been a little bit out of position in college. I think everybody projects her to be a power forward, and I don't think that that's her game. So, yeah, those would probably be. And then, there's going to be some international flavor. I mean, there's I can't remember her name. She's from France. She's looking like she'll probably go in the second round. And then you have Nardi Pouch from Australia.
Yeah, Australia, yeah.
Yep. And then you also have Izzy Borlace from Australia. Australia's really just packed with talent. I got lucky. I have a couple coaches down there that given me a lot of info on those young ladies, and they're very talented. So I think both of them could go in the late first. Wouldn't shock me if Alch gets a little bit higher, maybe in the top 6. There's been some buzz on her with her ability to create and convert in traffic. So I'm just going to be interested.
And one of the names you mentioned was Cardoza, right? You had her second in what you just established, kind of a little bit, maybe a few picks earlier than projected there. What are your thoughts on Cardoza, and is that maybe you think the biggest differential you have between yourself and other outlets?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, you can't trash any of these players.
No,
I mean,
absolutely.
they're all spectacular in their own ways. But Cameron has had some issues with physicality at times. Brilliant shot blocker. I think that's really where she's going to make her money at the next level. And I think the thing people don't understand about Cardoza that it's kind of weird to me, but for some reason I think most evaluators have this idea that she's already peaked. And to me, it's kind of odd because if you followed her career, she spent 2 years at South Carolina just honing and getting better. I mean, she was at Syracuse. She was a starter from day one, and then she transferred down to South Carolina. And really, women's game is a little bit different than the men's game. You can go from a high D1 and literally go to a power school like South Carolina and literally sit the bench for years until your opportunity comes. So that's really what happened with her. And then this past season, she put it all together. She has great touch. The outside shot needs a little bit of work. I think some other things she's a little rough at times, but when we're talking about physicality, if we're talking about finishing, if we're talking about good hands in the lane, she's got all that. And unlike Cameron Brink, she doesn't have a propensity to foul out at times. Cameron gets a little bit zealous with those blocks and picks up cheap fouls. And I think it's going to take a year or two to adjust to the physicality of the league. I mean, that's a pretty strong league, especially at those forward spots, and I think Cameron's going to need a little bit of time to adjust to that.
And you get both of those players, I believe, Defensive Players of the Year in their respective conferences, Cameron Brink and Cardoza from South Carolina. Rachel, your thoughts on maybe some of your top prospects through the top 5 here tonight?
I agree with Matt. I'm a little bit more interested in the other players that are coming in, like Jason mentioned, the HBCU players.
Absolutely.
2 of them coming from a Division II school. But if you look back, one did transfer from a Division I, Duquesne, which is Nia Langley. She's graduating from Virginia Union, I believe it is.
Yep.
Yeah. And Amari Hurd from Savannah State, and then Angel Jackson from Jackson State. So Jackson State being the Division I, university, it's going to be interesting where they're going to fall. Because again, these players are not coming from, because people look at the divisions as if it's a lower level as far as talent is concerned. And where you have in the men's Division II, they went pro. So you can't discount the division and associate them with their talent and skill level. And I think a lot of people get that little twisted, so to say, nowadays, whereas the talent level is just not there. But obviously they are, so I'm proud of them, entering the draft, and I would love to see more HBCU players enter the draft, male and female. I think that now they're doing a very good job, a better job as representing HBCUs. As I'm all for HBCUs. I know Jason and I, we talk about that quite often. But I think that's important to represent them, because now there's very limited television time. There's a lot of networks that are, putting them out there and actually showcasing these talents in the games. But if they're playing against higher, talent, or more, should I say, more represented colleges where Coppin State played against LSU. You have those big games on television. It's a huge disparity in resources, should I say. But I'm happy to see that. So it's going to be interesting for me to see these three players and see where they land. Yeah,
Jason, any maybe a top prospect stand out to you? Is there anybody you think that you like in particular coming up tonight?
I'm a homer. I gotta go with the Bayou Barbie. People forget that when she came out of high school in 2020, she was the top wing in the country. So I feel like in the pros, she will go back to her natural wing position. That's going to open up the entire floor for her and for her teammates. And if you pair her with Cardozo, which is projected to happen in this current draft, that's scary for anybody. I think I'm getting Candace Parker vibes when I look at Angel Reese's entire game, how the Sparks allowed a young Candace Parker to run the floor and pretty much do whatever she wanted to do on the court to really just expand her game. I feel like that's where Angel is right now. She's worked on her outside shot a little bit more over the past season, and I think you'll see that translate over into the WNBA. But also, her rebounding is really what sets her apart anyway from most women players in league, even current players right now. So I think those will transfer well. And then again, Cardozo is probably my number two pick, but Cameron Brink's probably gonna get that. But also, I like the idea of Rickea Jackson going to LA. I really like that. They need the depth and they need the scoring. So I think it's going to be a good draft. But we also need WNBA. Need to get Tia Cooper back in the league somehow, some way, please. She shouldn't be out for the WNBA. Let's work on that. Just saying.
How high? How high would you take Angel Reese in the draft tonight? As high as what pick?
I think she stays at 7. I think the Lynx traded that pick away to the Sky for a reason. Angel needs to be in a big city.
If you were the GM, where would you take her?
I let her drop to 7 because the other players probably have more upside down the line, but Angel's probably more pro ready right now. So it's a matter of like the NBA draft, whether you're pro ready right now or you're upside. So I think she still has some upside, but I think she's one of the more pro-ready players in the draft. Like right now, can start and put up maybe like 15 and like 9 a game. So look forward to seeing that happen.
9 minutes away, the WNBA draft set to get underway at 7 o'clock Eastern, of course, here on the East Coast. Quickly before we move on, a big NBA show planned tonight with the brackets yesterday. 15 seeds decided in yesterday's slate of action on Sunday afternoon. But quickly, UConn, they go back-to-back. As I mentioned in the intro, we all sat up here picking UConn for the most part. Matt, you nailed it right on the head by 15. They won by 15 in the national championship game. I asked you here quickly, and we don't need a lot of description, but UConn or the field heading into next year, if I had to ask you right now, who are you going with?
I'm going to go with the field because they have a couple people on the play of the draft already. So
I'm
taking
going
the
with
field.
The field.
Yeah.
Going with UConn. Give
Wow.
me UConn. Yeah, give me UConn ahead of time. I trust Danny Hurley for the three-peat. That's just the way it's a machine right now. I think we're gonna expect the same thing.
So
new roster this year didn't matter. I mean, a few turnovers.
So you think he's John Wood now? That's what you're saying to me.
I don't know about. We'll see what happens. I'm just saying, back to back
I
is
don't think
one
he's going
thing.
to get this lucky this year.
We'll see. We'll find out. I'm gonna take UConn over the field.
If I was a coach, though, I would be sort of a little intimidated by Hurley. He's just seasoned. He's very experienced.
He's
basketball royalty. His last name alone.
Calmed himself down this year, right? Not as crazy.
Absolutely.
On the sideline,
Just with his game plan alone, up against Purdue.
Yeah, and they did exactly what they wanted.
They
executed
did
perfectly.
They did. Absolutely.
Everything they wanted.
They kept the 2s. There was no 3s. I mean, they really.
Excellent game plan. I still can't understand what Coach Painter and the Boilermakers are doing still. I've tried to decipher it for over a week now. I still can't figure
There's
it
a
out.
talent discrepancy.
It's the big team.
I understand that, but I'm just saying, when you're the team in Purdue, it shoots what? Most second most three-point field goal attempts in the country on a per-game basis, right?
Yeah.
Coming
They
into
shot
games.
2 in the whole
They
first
shot-
half.
Yeah, is that?
Yes, that's
Because they
that's-
have-
Oh, no, I get it's tougher. Oh, no, I get it's tougher. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but you got to find ways to. That's your game. You got to find ways to knock down shots. That's all I'm going to say.
But they don't have no shot creators. That's the problem with Purdue.
You're
Those
right
guys
about
just
that.
sit there,
Right.
and not many.
But if you, and you watched the game, I'm
Yeah,
assuming
yeah.
they passed up on some not
Open-
open looks, but like
Open looks.
good 3-point
Good
shots. They
shots,
did.
yeah.
So again, I don't know. UConn was just none of us expected Purdue to win that game. Maybe Jason was just trying to maybe play to the Boilermakers. I don't know, but
No, that was a play.
but we all kind of
No chance.
anticipated that. Now, quickly before we move in the NBA, Mark Pope goes to Kentucky. A lot of names circulated. We saw Scott Drew's name floated around. He turned it down. Billy Donovan, no thank you. A lot of people turning down this job here at Kentucky. Mark Pope, though, the former Kentucky Wildcat, will take it. BYU this past year, I believe a first-round exit in the tournament this year with BYU, but has done a great job turning that program around over there. What do you guys think of Mark Pope to Kentucky, Jason?
It was the same thing that happened with BYU. It'd be another first-round exit. I mean,
So long-term especially, if you're thinking about this long-term, short-term, you don't like it at all.
I guess for a nostalgia standpoint, if you will, because 96.
I don't think they're going for
15.
nostalgia
No,
with
they
Kentucky
are. I mean,
basketball, are they with that?
they're trying to, go for nostalgia and
We'll
cool
see.
points and player who knows the system. But that system was 25, 30 years ago. That's NIL has changed the game. The transfer portal has changed the game. So, and when you have the top commit decommitted today from Kentucky,
Yeah,
and you have DJ Wagner just entered the portal today, he's gonna have to retool quickly, and you don't know what possible sanctions could be looming because Calipari left too fast for me. So I'm smelling something else is happening there. So I don't know what to expect with this Kentucky team. going
Interesting
forward.
hire. Just let me ask the table here, Matt. What do you think? Do you think that maybe they, again, it seems like there weren't a lot of people jumping at that opportunity, one of the premier head coaching positions in college basketball. What did you think about the way that coaching process or hiring process unfolded and now ending with Mark Pope there?
I mean, I think what Jason says carries a lot of truth to it. I mean, it seemed like they were running around with their hair on fire trying to find somebody to fill it.
with that, yeah.
I think they tried to do what Duke did. I think they tried to do what North Carolina did, and that's find themselves a Kentucky man, which they got. But the problem with Mark Pope is, does he really have a name as a strong recruiter? No. Best bet is maybe to keep, if he can keep the big Croatian kid there, who said he wants to go into the transfer portal. But my contacts say he's going to have a sit down today with Pope, or get Jackson Robinson, who was a BYU's top player.
Yeah,
to transfer
nice to have
over.
him over. He looked good. The only player that looked decent, I think, for them in that tournament
Yeah,
game
correct.
for BYU.
Correct. And I mean, that's the thing. I mean, Mark Pope may be Kentucky, but I don't think he excites any recruits out there.
Yeah.
I think they're like, I'm good. I'll go somewhere
And we're
else.
seeing that we saw that today, right? With these decommitments, two players coming out here over the weekend after the hiring, decommitting. One already there, DJ Wagner we talked about, and then Boogie Flan, who was their top prospect, as Jason alluded to. He's no longer committed. He's reopened his recruitment. What do you think about the state of Kentucky?
I think it's going to be pretty interesting, simply because you have all of these top schools, the Power Fives, and you have Duke #1 recruiting class coming into 2024, 2025 season. But I believe that I don't think he's going to have a hard time. There's like over almost 2,000 kids in the transfer portal, and they want to go somewhere. They're not going to go back to their respective schools. They're not going to go back to that. So, and Kentucky has this reputation. They have the one and done reputation. I don't think that's not going to go anywhere. It's almost like, when you have a cemetery, I think that's just like kind of stuck, and that's embedded in who Kentucky is, whether Calipari leaves or not.
It'll take a while at least to shake that.
All the players are leaving, so he gets to retool, like Jason mentioned. I don't think he's going to have a hard time, simply because he is a well-known name, and he has experience. Kentucky has the reputation. I'm sure they have the NIL funds to, grab some kids out of the transfer portal.
Maybe not Tyson Chicken money. But
No,
not
that.
They got that.
Not that $5 million.
They got bourbon and whiskey money in Kentucky. It's quite all right.
I mean, but I just don't think that he's going to have a hard time getting.
So how much success are we seeing next year in the SEC from Mark Pope?
I'm seeing NIT next year.
NIT. That's actually a good question. We'll raise that
18
question.
wins, man.
Are we saying NCAA tournament bid next year?
No, I'm saying NIT 18 wins.
NIT next year.
That could be it. How about
I'm
that?
saying
Kentucky?
NIT.
Doesn't seem so far-fetched there from what they've been doing here the last few years. So we'll see if
I
they take
mean,
them some time.
The problem with Kentucky is they're in a situation where they're following a situation like North Carolina once had. The difference was when North Carolina got Matt Daugherty. Matt Daugherty brought in. Yeah. But the difference is Matt Daugherty actually recruited. He actually brought in some really good talent. Sean May, Raymond Felton, Rashad McCants, who was a traitor, but whatever.
That was really been a big winner of Villanova that year. That was the Kyle Lowry Villanova.
Correct.
Yeah.
And he has some talent, man. You got David Noel. I mean, there's some ballers.
Forte.
Yeah. Who who is Mark Pope brought in? Who does Mark Pope have a connection to? I mean, his name ain't gonna ring bells with the kids that go out there.
And that's gonna be my next question. You know, is when you go around, you ask somebody, "Hey, you don't even know who?" But not that a lot of college basketball players are that well known, but Mark Pope, not somebody that people recognize the name.
Exactly.
You still got to remember the transfer portal.
That's true.
Kids want to get out of the transfer
game.
portal.
Yeah.
It's different nowadays.
Game.
You know. Hey, they could hire me. You know, they can be like, "Who's Rachel Naughton?" But I'm at Kentucky. Yeah. You know, I have Kentucky behind.
And if you look at some of the examples last year, Dalton Connect, coming from Northern Colorado. I mean, we've seen guys make that jump. Tristan Edwards.
If Mark Pope was smart, he will try to keep Ross Strickland on that staff by any means.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, Ross Strickland he left.
He's at NYU.
Yeah, so that was one of the. I think that was one of the big waves, ripple effects to hit the school with the recruiting anyway. When Ross Strickland left, he was their master recruiter there. Yeah. Although the past few years prior to him taking the coaching job, so you have to have someone like that, a proven name, proven commodity in the game, to be on that coaching staff to help bring some recognition along with Coach Pope being there. So he might have to reach out to one of his teammates from the 96 team or something, like to come on the staff.
Matt has something to say. Matt, say it.
Go ahead,
Matt. Say it.
Solo camera, Dennis.
Say it.
You can find the reel on Facebook tomorrow.
I'm gonna shout out my man Worldwide West.
Worldwide West.
He did help Kentucky in the early years. People forget about that, that's the problem. I don't know who Mark Pope had. I don't think he got nobody like that.
Worldwide West. NIL before NIL.
Yeah,
Well, I was about to say, we have NIL. We got money now. Money talks.
That's true. The bagmen are out in front. That's a fact.
I mean, but we've heard from some of Cal's former players at Kentucky. They were big donors. They said they're going with him to Arkansas. Boogie Cousins and some of those guys say they're not going to support Kentucky. They went there. So
again, they won school for 1 year.
And that's exactly what attachment do they have? Yeah, well,
right. Kentucky people, they Cal people.
They're not. They're not Tony Delk. They're not. Ron Mercer, they're not Anton Walker, not players like that. They did stay more than 2-3 years at school.
Yeah, they one and doners.
They're not playing loyalty to the school.
Well, we'll find out. I guess Mark Pope maybe learn a lot about him next year, seeing how they do in that first year with him, depending on what kind of roster they have, et cetera.
But that's a name.
We'll see how it goes there. But a wild Sunday in the NBA yesterday. Big slate where we locked up a bunch of seeds were up for grabs yesterday, and now we are cemented and ready to go for the playoffs, which get underway on Saturday. The play-ins, though, begin tomorrow night and Wednesday night. So yesterday, first off, the Knicks go to overtime with the Bulls. They play their starters the whole way. Dante played over 40 minutes of action in this game. They get the win over Chicago in overtime. That locks up the number 2 seed for the New York Knicks. Contrary to that, the Cleveland Cavaliers going to play against the Hornets. And, of course, I'm going to keep it rolling here anyway. Hornets upset Cleveland. Cleveland 13-point favorites heading into that game. If they would have won, they could have locked up the 2 seed. They were winning heading into the fourth quarter. They pulled their starters and play guys that haven't played all year in order to lose the game. The point being, they didn't want to get the 2 seed. They didn't want to play either the Heat or potentially the 76ers. So they drop with that intentional loss. To the Hornets. T-Wolves get the 3 seed. We had 3-way tie yesterday coming in for those games, number 1 in the West. Wolves get the 3, Denver the 2, who we thought might be the 1, and then OKC locks up the Young Guns in Oklahoma City, lock up the number 1 seed in the West. So before we dive into the matchups by matchups here, breakdowns, and the play-ins, initial reactions, surprises on how things unfolded yesterday, and kind of a look at the bracket overall here. What sticks out to you? Jason, your Celtics, one of the historically statistical best seasons in NBA history. They get the number 1 seed far and away in the East. What do you think about the bracket this year?
I mean, we've seen the Heat come from the play-in and go to the finals, so nothing is guaranteed. I'll start with that. But that Heat team won't do that this year. I think New York needs to be very afraid. I think the Knicks are a first-round exit. I do think if they draw Philly in the first round, they might get 1 game.
I like the way Jason's talking right now,
He
man.
might be
I
one
like
day.
the way he's talking as a Sixer fan. Best, and we'll just talk about the Sixers here for a second because Jason brought it up. Philadelphia with Embiid this year and Maxey, the best record in the NBA when those two play together. They've been undefeated since Embiid returned. They're
that,
getting
like
hot
10
at the
games?
right time. 10 games, it is. It's 10 games. But let me ask you this. All those other years he played, we saw him kind of die out in the playoffs. He's got a lot of rest this year in the
I'm
regular
sure he
season
do.
coming in.
Put down the milkshakes, big man. Put down the
And honestly, this has been the question
Them
raised
Whoppers, man.
publicly in the media all day today is who's the biggest threat to Boston in the Eastern Conference? Are you saying it is the Philadelphia 76ers?
I am.
I agree.
I am. I'm saying it.
Am I might be on
Yes, you heard
I
me
might
say
be
it.
on
You
the same
did.
page. Yeah, I appreciate
I know,
it,
you heard me
Jason.
say it. It
And
won't
I'm
happen again.
glad
It's
to hear
okay.
you say that.
You
Because your
heard me say
predictions
it.
are generally pretty good. So I'll take you being on the Sixer bandwagon for this one.
And I would say outside of Philly, it's definitely not Milwaukee. We're not even worrying about Milwaukee this
And
year.
we'll touch on them when we get to the breakdowns
I would
here. So they got
say-
Indiana, tough
Shout out
one.
to overrated Dame Lillard, man.
Even Doc seemed to be having a little
Should have never
some
been on the
issues
top
there.
75, but I'm not
Honestly, I'm gonna give you a sleeper team in
And
the
Clay
East.
was left off that list, wasn't he?
I'll give you a sleeper.
as he should.
I
I'll
knew
give
you
you,
were gonna
I'll give you
say
a
that.
sleeper in the East. From the way this bracket is breaking down, I'll give you a sleeper.
I knew what you were going to say. Go ahead.
Orlando.
Oh, wow, I'm going a different direction. Orlando.
Orlando.
Man, more
I like the way they're composed. I do. Like the team, like the way the roster's built.
very defensive-minded team with Jalen Suggs and Jonathan Isaac leading those guys. Two guys that could be, I guess, an
They're like
all-NBA defensive
OKC, but in the
consideration.
East. Like I like their makeup.
Orlando, how about that? Anything stand out? What stands out to you, Matt, initially when you saw those seedings lock up yesterday?
I just want to really quick talk about how much I think the play-in sucks.
Yeah.
And before you
Amen.
go in, I was going to say, I can't. Oh man, I think it's just such a waste of
It's the
everybody's
worst
time
ever, dog.
Yeah, I despise. I think it's just.
It's just because these guys
like,
wanna
why do we have the Bulls and the Hawks playing in a game? Why do we have the Bulls and the Hawks?
They just
For
want to
what
half-ass
reason,
during the
man?
regular season, and this is the way Silver wants to try to keep
All right,
his,
sorry to cut
his,
you off. Go ahead,
his
man. I
stars.
apologize.
And this is
No, I'm
another-
with you.
It's another way for sports bettors, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
that's
the
all
money.
it is.
The money talks. Going back to
can't
that,
stand
that's
it.
a
it's
good
just
point.
Vegas, you know,
I
we
mean,
got to
just
Can't
again,
stand
we got to watch the Hawks play the Bulls, and then we got to have. I mean, I just think it's insane to think that way. Kings and the Warriors, I guess, a little more interesting in the Western Conference, but teams that you would think, you know, the Heat did make that run, as Jason mentioned
They
the
did.
other day, but
They did.
I'm with you. Playing no
I
go
can't
for
stand the
me.
playing, man. I can't stand it.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
Go back to the. Listen, go back to the traditional 1 through 8,
Yeah.
and go back to the 5-7-7 format.
Yeah.
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 Like the first round being 5 games. Go back to that format too. That was
That
get them
was
out of
fire.
there quick.
And when anything stick out to you else? When you look at that bracket where teams are slotted, we talked about the Knicks grabbing the 2 seed, the Sixers sitting at 7,
see.
Lakers and the Warriors and the playing in the West, Dallas Clippers there 4-5, and then how about OKC grabbing that 1 spot?
I mean, yeah. I mean, OKC, they're doing what they. I think Chet is the.
82 games for Chet this
Yeah.
year. 82
Shout
for
out.
82.
Yeah, give him credit for that.
gotta
Got
give
to.
him
You got to, yeah.
Didn't Buddy Hield do 84?
84 games. Buddy played
It's
84
been
games.
Like
Yeah.
20 years since somebody's done that. or
Yeah,
something.
84 games for Buddy this year, man.
Buddy, shout out to Buddy.
Shout out to Buddy, man.
And then
That was my
everybody's
guy when he was in college.
everybody's
Yeah, I
team
like
that
Buddy,
everybody
man.
gets hyped on. The 2 hypest teams on here that everybody gets hyped on every year is the 5-4 with in the West.
Yeah,
Dallas
I'm with him there.
versus
He's right. Yeah,
the
I can see
Clippers.
that.
I can't stand either one of those teams.
You still not buying Dallas, man?
No, I'm
I like Dallas. We'll talk about Dallas.
I don't buy
here
Dallas, and I certainly don't buy the Clippers,
in a little
dog.
while. So we talked about
I ain't
initial
buying it.
reactions. Let's jump into the play-ins here real quickly
Yeah.
before we get into the real matchups, as we like to call it. 7-8 in the East. The Sixers did all they could to get out of that play and to get to that 6-spot win in all those games.
Yep.
Didn't matter. Orlando able to beat the brakes off of Milwaukee yesterday. We'll talk about the Bucks in a little while. But the Sixers grabbed 7, and then the Heat 8. 2 teams that I think are dangerous in the Eastern Conference. We shake our heads every year at the Heat. They finish towards the bottom half between anywhere from 5 to 8, and they always go on a little bit of run. Heat 76ers is going to be at least a heavyweight play-in game from that aspect. I think it's going to be a good game Wednesday night. And then Bulls and Hawks. Do we guys want to even
No.
reference the Bulls and Hawks? I don't either. So let's focus on the 76ers Heat. How do you guys see that play-in game going in this one? And who do you think is going to take on the Knicks come Saturday night?
I see Philly beating
Yeah,
the
I
brakes
see
off
Philly.
of Miami.
Really, breaks off. See,
I don't know about the breaks.
As a Sixer,
Yeah, I
I
don't
think
know
this is
about
going to be
the
a tight
breaks.
game. I get it's in Philly.
I'm gonna tell you why.
Yeah, go on.
It's gonna be good.
I'm gonna tell you why. I think you probably gonna have to blow up this Miami team after this season
Not the blow up.
because can you really trust Jimmy to actually win you something? Like
Worked for 2 years.
He said-
Okay, keep working.
close with no cigar, and with the way this team is made up, I mean, is he really that
He ain't that dude.
That 1-1A guy. We know that he's really not. He's a star role player.
He's a 2-1.
Yeah, right. He's a star role player. Like he's a Pippen. He's not MJ. You understand what I'm saying? Like from the way his game is made up, because he's not the guy that's gonna go out and get you 30 every night. Playoff Jimmy's different.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think he does what he needs to.
But when you playoff Jimmy playoff Jimmy all year long, and you never get that. And then I think it's time for Bam to be the true number one on that team.
I think it's Bam. He needs to go power forward, I think.
He obviously he does.
Yeah.
He does. But also with this matchup, I just think that the firepower for Philly will be too much. And I think the guard play for Philly. I mean, Ricky Council's been just playing phenomenal ball. Finally got a contract. Philly, thank you, former Blue Coat. Finally got a contract.
Not a fan of Ricky, but go ahead.
We gotta explain that. But
yeah, I definitely will.
I mean, Maxey has proven that he can put the Sixers on his back if he has
I think
to.
it's time for him to
by
shine. I think
himself.
it's time.
Yeah.
So when you add Embiid, and shout out to Tobias Harris for actually having a consistent season.
Oh my God.
He had one though. He had one.
There was
J. Cole
some
out of
stretches.
here, man. Get J. Cole
There are
out
some
of here,
stretches
He's had
where
one.
he was
Well,
bad.
Tired of this dude.
I mean, but he's had a
All
good
can
season
be
though.
forgiven this year. If
They all
he
can be
shows up
forgiven,
in the
man.
You really think
playoffs.
so?
If he plays well, and the Sixers make the conference
I want
finals.
him off my team.
And
just
next
need
year
him
he
to
will
play,
be. He will be off there. He's not on the books. One contract on the books for next year. That's
I think Nick Nurse will play Mo Bamba more though. I think when he's on the court, he brings a different intensity.
Twin Towers look.
Defensive
Ian
wise,
Bamba.
he needs to play a little bit
I
more.
like that.
In Miami, 21st in offensive rating during the regular season. Obviously known over the years as more of a defensive team there with Bam Adebayo in the middle. Terry Rozier, interesting acquisition there this year for Miami, but been battling some injuries. So he hasn't played a lot lately. His status is in question. You assume he'll be ready tomorrow night, but you don't know for sure about his status. Jimmy Butler's been banged up all year. I think played most likely. He doesn't play a lot every year, but less I think this year than in years past. So it's going to be interesting to see what we get out of Miami. But again, it seems like every year they get in and not getting too much praise, and then they end up going on a little bit of a run. I think a lot of people are picking the Sixers, me included, but I think it's going to be back and forth. I think it's going to come down to the wire. And if you're the Knicks, as Jason said, you'd rather play Miami. If you're New York, who would you rather take on in the first round?
I would rather play Miami. Seriously.
I think either way is tough, though. I mean, I think
would,
New York grabbing that 2 seed puts them in more of a tough spot. I'd much rather be
The 3 seed.
3 or 4, I think.
Yeah.
I agree. And I am from New York. Today, I pretty much announced that I am a Knicks fan today.
Oh, wow.
I got told that I was
official?
a fan.
Okay.
Official.
Congrats. Congrats.
I don't know if we can congratulate.
I was told
somebody
that I
to
was a
be congratulated
bandwagoner.
on.
But, and I'm proud to
Bandwagoner.
say,
You can be
I
a Knicks
am
fan and
proud
be a
to say-
bandwagoner?
I am
real?
proud to say that I'm from New York, and because my New York team did make the playoffs, I'm gonna be a bandwagoner.
So that means you're a
Orange and blue
Julius Randle
skies.
fan.
I'm a
Oh,
Knicks
he's not
fan.
playing.
I mean,
The Nova Knicks.
No, I am not.
But
Well,
they made it.
He'll miss the
But they made it last year.
unfortunately.
Though. What happened last year? They made it.
Then I
They beat
then I
Cleveland in the
transferred
first
teams.
round. I think.
You know, because you know what? I love the Heat program.
Okay.
I love the Heat program. I mean, they have probably the best,
a fact.
conditioning program. I love what the Heat brings to professional basketball.
It's a
fact.
culture.
And it's the culture. I do love that. So,
And again, I think we got.
with that being said, my Knicks are in. So I have to congratulate you guys, and I'm
And they're gonna be a
rooting for you.
first round exit in 5 games.
Shout out to the Knicks.
Knicks again.
Jalen Brunson.
Jalen Brunson's been
Jalen-
Mark
Jalen's
Cuban.
been great.
It's the
Mark Cuban not.
it's the no Randall factor in the
regret
playoffs.
that one.
Like I get that you got the guard playing up and down, but in the playoffs you gotta throw it in the post to somebody, and Randall's not there.
Yeah, Mitchell Robinson returning. Isaiah
Shout out to my
Hartenstein's
boy
been good
Mitchell
for them.
Robinson.
Yeah, Mitchell Robinson.
Yeah.
Is he healthy?
He's back. I don't know if he's healthy. He's
You
back.
said healthy,
He's back.
like-
I'm saying any lineup you look
Right.
at that they throw out there
is
with
he-
Brunson and OG Anunoby, they've been lights out on the floor with those
Yes.
two. No matter who else you throw in there, Josh Hart's been a triple-double machine for them lately.
But,
Dante can
but
score.
OJ's missed some games too as a Knick, so it's like, what are you really gonna get out of him?
I think it's going to
Come
be
playoff time.
an interesting and fun matchup.
I mean, I like the
in
Knicks.
first
agree.
round.
No, I like the Knicks.
Yeah.
I just don't like.
I do too.
I don't like the potential matchup.
And me, that's how I feel. They would have
That's
been a lot
my thing.
better
I
off
don't-
losing that
I don't
game
like the
yesterday
potential.
I'm
to
with you on
Chicago.
that, but
I don't like-
I'm
I'm-
still gonna root for.
I mean, you should, but I don't think John Starks and Pat Ewing walking through that door. Neither is Allen Houston and Spreewell. Good luck.
Matt, let me ask you this, and then I'll ask Jason because he's going to want to touch on a little bit. Does it matter who Boston plays in the first round? Historically good season in the regular season in all aspects. Top defense, top offense, you name it, they did it.
Right.
And But when you get to the playoffs, they've struggled a little bit in some of these series. They've gone 6 or 7 games when they really shouldn't have. Do they get challenged at all in the first round, and whether that be Miami or Philly?
Different coaching.
Well, Philly, it could be a challenge.
Philly, yeah.
Think so?
Yeah, I think Philly could be a challenge.
But Philly doesn't want Boston, and Boston doesn't want Philly
No, I
until
agree.
later on down the line.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's a mutual respect where those teams want to play each other that early.
I agree with
I
that,
agree.
and hopefully that won't be the case. Hopefully Philadelphia can beat Miami on Wednesday, and we don't have to have that discussion. If Boston does play Miami, they've given them problems in the past. How many games that go, Jason?
It's not this year.
6, 5?
6.
6, I'll take that. Miami
Because Jimmy has proven that he can win one game in the playoffs
Yeah.
by himself. I've seen this movie too many times, especially against us.
How old is Jimmy?
Jimmy's like 30,
He's got to be
35?
32.
35, yeah.
Is he 35 now?
He might be that old.
He's
I was
a
going to say
coming out of
33,
Marquette.
34. Yeah, but he might be.
He might be like 30, yeah, he's like 34 at least. Yeah.
Probably 34.
He's getting there. And again, played, as I
getting there.
mentioned, less games this year. Maybe it's starting to see that. I'll never doubt Jimmy Butler, though. I will say that personally. But
Himmy,
Yeah,
you know.
playoff Jimmy
I-
is different.
he's been unbelievable
Yeah.
what they can do
But-
in the playoffs.
Again,
But again, we're talking about 1 or 2 seasons, and we all agree that Philadelphia, though, would give either the Celtics or the Knicks probably the biggest trouble with this.
That's a fact, yeah.
yeah,
And now Nick, and I can't say it enough. Nick Nurse now being on the sideline in the playoffs here for the Sixers, I think that is a big upgrade too.
huge.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, actual play calling, yeah.
And well, now we'll talk about the team
Y'all gonna respect Doc.
that has Doc
I'm not.
Rivers. Doc Rivers and Marquette.
Doc.
Speaking
I will
of
not.
Marquette, Doc Rivers,
Yeah.
Marquette Golden Eagle.
Yeah.
Milwaukee grabs the 3 seed. They lose again yesterday. They're
Yep.
17-19
Yep.
under Doc Rivers. Right? I mean,
It's not Doc's fault.
Adrian Griffin was 33-8.
I know what you're going to say.
Giannis now dealing with that calf strain, most likely indicating that he might not be there for the first couple games of this series. Kind of like what Durant experienced a couple years ago with that calf. He came back, he ended up tearing that Achilles. They want to be very cautious with Giannis here. They're going up against Indiana, who's looked pretty good this year. The offense has been fantastic. And then after trading for Siakam, the defense that was well below our average is now average. So with that offense, now paired with at least an average defense, they've been spectacular. Milwaukee's lost 8 of the final 11 games with Doc Rivers. And we talked about the injuries. Dame, as Matt mentioned, hasn't looked quite like himself. There's a little turmoil in that locker room in the sideline with Doc Rivers. But
He's boo-boo, bro.
again, question about Giannis. We don't know if he's going to be there early or not. Indiana grabs that 6th seed. They've been good. Halliburton's back. How do you guys see this series unfolding? And do you guys think the Bucks will for sure advance here, man?
No.
No, I mean, look how many points,
I
you know,
agree.
Giannis brings scores every game.
And let me tell you, those Rachel, first one second. Against Indiana, he averaged, here you go, 42 and a half
I mean, come
points
on, there
this
you
year
go.
against them and 13 rebounds.
That's a lot of points they're going to miss.
That's a heck of a lot for a team that has looked pretty challenged offensively here as of late. I think, and again, you add in Doc Rivers, who I don't want to badmouth too much, graduated with my aunt at Marquette, so we're a family
that.
friend.
Look at that.
We're a family friend
that.
of Doc Rivers on the show. We love you, Doc.
Look
but
at you knowing Glenn.
It's been
Not Glenn.
what do you guys think here? Let's jump into this game and break it down just a little bit. Indiana, they like to really run. That offense has been fantastic. Matt Halliburton, the NBA assist leader this year.
Facts.
Borderline could be all NBA team. That's going to be really close to see if he ends up on one of those teams. They can score. Defense is starting to pick up, and Milwaukee heading in the wrong direction. Who do you got here?
I got Indiana. If it's without- if
Indiana.
it's
How many
without-
games?
6.
And what do you think the difference is there? Why Indiana?
Dame Lillard.
But you're using it in a negative context. Some would argue I'm taking the Bucks in 6 because of Dame Lillard.
Anybody's taking Dame Lillard, you're an idiot.
Wow.
It's nothing good
Is
about
that,
Dame
are
Lillard
we
this
show?
year.
Is that disrespectful? Jason,
No,
is
it's
that
not
too
disrespectful. You look at the stats.
No, it.
Look at the stats.
This is not
This is coming from somebody that
this
said the
season, no.
Bucks weren't going to challenge the beginning of the year. Said
I
that
mean, look at the advanced metrics. He's at 19 PER this year. That's like
It's-
the second lowest he's had since his rookie year.
it's down. And again, at
Shooting
first year,
down,
different role,
three-point
right?
percentage
Playing off
down.
the ball. It
Right.
looks a lot different.
You're
than that.
using metrics? I am appalled.
I know.
And I'm also proud at the same time.
The analysts out
I
there.
have to
right? You
fraud
got
and,
you.
you know, I gotta put it in there, but
I'm proud of you.
Did you say 6 games? Indiana,
6 games.
Indiana
yeah.
in 6, and again,
because
if
I think
you're-
the guard play is going to be problems for them. They can't stop a nosebleed, and they have Giannis's brother.
By the way, do we have the clip of? Did you guys see the dunk he missed yesterday?
The ass.
Did you?
Yes.
Oh,
I've
God,
seen
we're
so
gonna
many.
get kicked off the air now.
I've seen so many shots he's missed this year. So
Yesterday he had a bad wide open dunk in
Shots,
transition.
everything.
They gotta tell
he
that
had the whole
man.
Magic bench rolling on the
They
floor.
got to point to the
yesterday.
floor and tell him where to go.
All right, Rachel, go to you now. Milwaukee, Indiana, how many games?
I think I'm a mad 6. Yeah.
In Indiana as well, right?
Yeah.
Jason, I know you're picking Indiana.
Indiana in 6, and this will be with or without Giannis. I had this either way.
Ooh, with what?
With or without Giannis? I respect
with
that.
Giannis, I'm going different. If it's with
With,
me,
I'm going with Giannis.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm not.
What?
I think they lose
don't
him early.
like
I'm
what
worried
I
about
see
his
from-
status.
It smells bad in Milwaukee.
You're hating on Doc right now.
I'm not.
I don't hate
It's
it,
a Doc
Jason.
shot.
I'm not saying I'm with him,
It
but I
smells
see
bad in
where he's
Milwaukee,
coming
bro.
from. I see where he's
It
coming
smells
from.
bad in Milwaukee. I mean,
How do you
and
lose 8 of the last 11 games?
until you do
'Cause
right
of
by
Lillard.
Adrian Griffin,
Well,
man.
and then have
Like
confidence
five
in him
no
in here.
reason.
I don't know, but listen to me. I'm going to take Milwaukee in 7.
Did you see what he shot last game? It was
Yeah,
like
I saw
Milwaukee in
2 or
7.
28
I
or
saw
something
it.
like that. It was bad,
It was
man.
bad. I'm
Milwaukee in
I'm
7.
going Milwaukee in 7. I think the Pacers will push it to the end. I think Giannis will come back valiantly, and they'll get by
Right
skin of their
now,
teeth.
Milwaukee's most
And Milwaukee
consistent
goes down
players
next round.
are Bobby Portis and AJ Green. Come on,
Hey,
man.
NBA,
Come on, man.
do the retro stop 75. Take Lillard out of there. Oh, just trust me on this.
Matt's going to campaign for that until we go off the air. Who knows? In years down the road.
Get him off.
We'll see. Let's jump now to the 4-5 matchup. We talked about Cleveland. A losing mindset yesterday, throwing that game to drop to the 4 seed. They wanted to play the
like
Magic, and they figured, hey, who cares if we get Boston in the second round? We just want to win one round of action. Last year, that disappointing loss to the Knicks, and that kind of shows you the way Dan Gilbert and that organization thinking, hey, we just want to get one. So not a fan of what the Cavs did yesterday, and I don't even think they can get one potentially here against
Disappointed
Orlando.
again.
Magic get the 5 spot. They beat Milwaukee bad yesterday, as we mentioned. Donovan Mitchell's health's been a little bit in question. Should be ready to go, though, for this playoff series. Orlando, more of a defensive team, but they played really well. The guy that we all had atop our draft boards a few years ago, Paolo Banchero, has been fantastic for them here in year number 2. Magic Cavs going to be an interesting series. I think it'll be a close series here in round 1. How do you guys see that one going, Jason?
This will probably be one of the 7-game series in the first round. Might be the only one in the first round that goes 7. I think when you have 2 young teams like this, somebody's going to give away a game, if you will. But I do have the Orlando Magic winning this series over the Cavs.
How many games?
I just think that when you add like a Jalen Suggs, shout out to Markelle Fultz for really like rebuilding his entire game over the past few years with injuries and just mental psyche. The Wagner brothers,
Yeah,
sorry,
right.
I pronounced it correctly. The Wagner
And
brothers.
German,
The
German
Wagner
twist
brothers.
on it.
I haven't mentioned Paulo yet, so that's saying a lot.
I think it's going to be close. I have Cleveland in 7 games in this one. I think just the offense a little bit more well-rounded than Orlando. I think it's going to be another close series. I got Cleveland in 7 games. Wouldn't shock me, though, if the Magic took home this one either. Rachel, how you feel about it?
I agree. I think they'll go 7.
Cleveland or Orlando?
I'm going to take Orlando.
Orlando? Oh, Matt, how do you feel? Cleveland and Orlando in a 4-5 matchup.
He's not picking Donovan
And
Mitchell.
it doesn't matter because whoever wins gets bounced by the Celtics the
Yeah,
next
that's
round.
I'm clicking Cleveland 6.
Cleveland and 6.
Because
I'll take
I
Cleveland
believe
7.
in their talent, especially if Mitchell's healthy. So
And Mitchell Garland, we'll see if they can finally get that playoff series win there in Cleveland. Haven't won a playoff series without LeBron since 1993. So maybe this is the year.
And do you know who's on that team?
I know you do.
No, do you know? On that 93?
I wasn't born yet, but I do not know.
oh,
I still should know. I'll give you. I know a lot of stuff prior
baby
to
boy right here.
But go ahead.
No, a great tar here by the name of Brad Daugherty was on that 93 team. I'm just saying, you know.
Yep. I should have known that
shout
one.
out to
man.
Larry Nance.
So
Larry Nance.
Eastern Conference Finals predictions here. The Eastern Conference. I know we're running short on time here. 7:22 Eastern. You guys got an Eastern Conference Finals? I'm gonna go Celtics Sixers.
That's what the NBA needs.
I would say that. I agree.
Oh man, if we all pick, how about that, Matt? How do you feel? I know you'll be.
He's not picking
You'll
that.
be the difference.
He's not picking that.
I mean, it depends if Giannis. I mean, for me, I like the Bucks.
Say Giannis
So-
comes back. Say Milwaukee comes back maybe towards the end of that series, or maybe not at all. Either way, Milwaukee advances. Then they get him. How do you feel? The Cavs scares me. I just
If
something
it was a
about
fifth.
it scares
If
me.
it was a
Like,
fifth.
So I got Sixers Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Wow, 4 of that. I hope we're right
Yeah.
there. It's not good that we all picked it, but we'll see
No,
how it
it's
goes
not
there.
good.
Let's jump to the Western
Jinx my
Conference.
team. Yeah.
OKC, who has had the number 1 seed in the West a lot of the year, but not really many people expecting them to hold on to it. Well, they did. They get the 1 seed, and they're going to get either the Pelicans, Lakers, Kings, or Warriors. And if you're OKC, we'll talk about maybe who you preferably want
None
there.
of them.
But now let's talk quickly, though, about that play-in in the West. You got
right
Pelicans, Lakers on Wednesday night. That game first, followed by the Kings and the Warriors. So it's been floated around all day today, ever since and yesterday, since this was cemented in stone, that if you're the Lakers, do you throw this game and try to get the 8 seed so you can get OKC in the first round? If the Lakers were to win, grab the 7th seed, they would get, of course, Denver in round number 1, which would almost, you would argue, be a first-round exit, almost guaranteed there. And a lot of people think, hey, you can't operate that way. You can't throw games, et cetera, et cetera. But you know what that does to your locker room. Where do you guys stand? If you're the Lakers, would you rather maybe not play your guys, rest LeBron and AD, take a loss, grab maybe the 8 seed? Potentially. It's not a guarantee. You still have to win the next game or you go home.
Right.
So that's the other aspect of it. What do you think there? Or do you just take where you're landed and try to take down Denver? Matt, I see you thinking about it.
I mean, I wouldn't want to play Denver.
So you might
If
say,
I
hey,
do-
Dean LeBron, hey, listen, let's see what we
Yeah.
can do here. Take a seat.
Unfortunately, yeah, I think
Yeah.
I probably would do that.
And then you're putting all your eggs in that basket because you got to take down either the Kings or the Warriors for a guarantee spot. You lose that game, you're going home. You think it's worth that risk?
Yeah.
Because you're going home to Denver anyway?
Yeah, I think they're going home anyways because I think the
Yeah.
Lakers suck and are poorly constructed. You know.
What do you think, Jay? You
Shout
got to
out
throw that
Clutch.
game?
Shout out to Clutch Sports Management for that.
You got to throw that game, Jason?
I mean, I don't like it. It
Bad for team morale?
I
Bad
don't
juju
know.
heading into the playoffs?
I don't like any matchup. Like, I don't like it at all. Like, this is, I mean, let's think about it. LeBron's last 4 years in playoffs has been in the play-in. Let's be honest
That
about
he
it.
hated.
That he hated so much. It saved his legacy. Play-in has, quote unquote. Not bashing, just stating facts.
I'm the goat.
Here's the thing, right? If you tank, the Kings and the Warriors can beat the Lakers either way.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
The Pelicans, they're kind of suspect.
They were hot down the stretch. They got Ingram back. You thought they would be a little better. They looked bad yesterday.
Are you believing the Pelicans past the first round? Let's just be honest about it. You're not. Even if they get to the first round.
I don't
You're not.
think so. If you would ask me a couple weeks ago, I might have said yes. I
You're
don't
not.
feel that way. Man.
So, I honestly think LA wants that Denver matchup just for like
You think they won it?
ego.
I know Michael
For-
Malone
for
wants
ego.
it.
For egos, I think they want that matchup. I don't know why they would want it, but they want
I
that
don't think
matchup.
so, man.
Man, that's.
So I think they actually play all out and get the set.
I don't know if I would. Again, I can't even answer my question. I don't know if I would do it or not. I'm with Matt. I think the by far better thing, if you had to choose from the two, would be to grab the number 1 spot and take that young OKC team who has no playoff experience. I mean, whatsoever.
The
basically
Lakers can't
none
run
of
with
those
them.
guys.
The Lakers can't run with OKC.
And that's the thing. And here's the.
It would be worse.
And I'm with you. I think OKC
Take
wins that
clear,
series.
man. He's gonna be good for the.
But the
playoffs.
way everybody else is thinking, they think that's the best shot for the Lakers. If you're OKC, Rachel, what do you think is who do you think they would rather play? Or who actually, I guess, would you think the Lakers are the biggest threat
Shout
out of
out to
those 4
Balco.
teams? Who do you think presents the biggest threat, I guess, to the Thunder in the first round?
I don't think the Lakers. You know what I mean? Because I think that, OKC, like you said, is a younger team, and the Lakers, have I don't think they can run with them. That's for one. I would say, if anything, the Clippers, would be a better contender. But I don't
We'll talk
think-
about that. That's going to be, in
because-
my opinion, the best round matchup in the first round, Clippers Mavericks. I think.
I mean, I just don't think that right now, I don't know if any of them matter to them right now.
So you think, does anybody have OKC going down in the first
I
round? To
don't.
any of those play-in teams that have a chance to get them? Say the Lakers do
I
get
think
them.
the Lakers got shot.
You
The
think
Lakers
so?
Lakers could catch them.
but it depends on Mr. Glass. And that's Anthony
And by the
Davis.
way, that's a good point, mate. Thank you for bringing it up. Hurt, I believe, less than a week ago. He's dealing with some more issues.
He's hurt if he
His
walks at night.
status is in question going forward.
Just what it is.
So it's going to be interesting to see OKC gets. It's going to be interesting to see how they play in that first playoff with those young guys. Again, I think they will be okay in the first round.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters who, but a lot of people taking the Lakers if they were to happen to get the Lakers in that game. Denver, they grabbed the 2 seed. I don't think it matters at all who they play out of any of those 4 teams. They're the favorites to go back-to-back. Quickly, yes or no, should they be the favorites?
Yes.
Yes, I think yes. Matt?
Yes.
Yeah, but I detest.
Who going back where?
Should Denver be the favorite to go back-to-back?
No.
Who do you think should be the favorite? I mean, so you think obviously you'll take the Celtics.
No.
Okay, who is it? Who do you...
Y'all gonna hate me for saying this too.
Yes, I am.
I know you are.
Well, you don't say nothing crazy.
Huh?
Don't say the Clippers. Don't say.
I'm not doing that.
Okay. What do you
That
say?
come no.
I think. Let me guess. Let me guess what you're going to
Take a
say.
guess.
Minnesota.
I would like to say that, but
Oh,
no.
okay, yeah.
Oh,
Phoenix.
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 No.
I would. Again, tough. It's going to be tough for the Suns.
They don't play no defense.
No one does in the NBA, so that's perfect for them.
Yeah, but
They really don't play.
They looked good yesterday in the final game of the regular season. We'll see
I'm
how
out.
healthy the big 3 is for them.
Big Three.
Yeah,
Who's the
Brad,
big
Brad
three?
Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant.
Durant.
Big 4, Grayson Allen.
I'm not familiar with the gentleman you mentioned. Beal.
Don't do
Yeah,
that. See,
I haven't seen him play
We're
too
not doing-
much.
we're not
I'm
doing this.
familiar with Durant. I'm familiar with Booker.
We're not doing
I'm
this
not
today.
sure
not doing this
about
today.
this guy you called. What's his name again?
Bradley
Brad-
Beal.
I'm
Bradley
not-
Beal.
I don't know who that
McDonald's
is.
All-American.
We're not doing this
Florida
today.
Gator.
See, you left that part out though. You left that Florida Gator
I
part out.
mean, I know what he was supposed to be.
Well,
I know what he ain't though.
He's supposed to be Ray Allen 2.0.
Well, they seem to be
What's supposed to
healthy.
be
Supposed
bad?
to be.
Well, now's the chance, right? Let's see how they do it.
Said his
in
mama
the
taught him how to
playoffs.
shoot.
And
But-
let's talk about that.
wait a minute.
Yeah,
Did you hear Dennis in the back? Dennis said
Dallas. I heard that too.
I love Dallas.
I heard Dennis.
Dallas.
I mean,
I
I've been
mean,
saying
I love
Dallas here
Dallas.
for a couple months,
It's
ever since
not-
the
it's-
trade
I don't
deadline.
love Dallas
It's
at
not.
all.
It's not too far fetched.
Gafford and
It's not.
PJ Washington,
Not at
big
all.
additions there at the deadline, I think, for them. They've been great. The number 1 defensive team, going from one of the worst in the first half of the season to the best defensive rating in the league the last month or so of the season. That's hard to do. You pair that with Kyrie and Luka on offense.
I trust playoff Kyrie more than I
Going into
trust
the playoffs.
I
playoff Luka.
think I think
I
they're
think that's what it is for
mellow.
me. I like Kyrie and playoff Kyrie is a
It's
different
different.
animal.
Scares
It's
me though
different,
is there's
yes.
one player in the playoffs that I think could obviously shake everything up, and that's if healthy, and I think that's Kawhi Leonard. I know everybody's about the Clippers, but if Kawhi Leonard is healthy, and again, he's not already.
The claw.
He's not already.
That-
His
right.
status is in question, and
Glass
we're going to
Joe.
jump to that series now here with Mavs and the Clippers, the 4-5 in the West. If Kawhi Leonard is 90%.
Playoffs.
Playoffs. You kidding
I'm
me?
telling you.
Playoffs?
If not, that changes everything. He's the key. The rest of the Clippers we know are known for struggling in the playoffs. Paul George, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, you name it. But he's the difference maker. As it stands right now, I'm going with Dallas in 7 games. But
I'm not trusting the
If I
98
see
Rockets,
Kawhi
man.
come out in game 1 and drop
Then
30 and something, I'm switching it. I've seen too much of it.
This man's on the roll.
And I'm not even hearing it, so I wish I did. Now
He
I'm
just
moving
called
to that.
Matt just called the Clippers the 98 Rockets with Barkley and
Buying
Pippen.
it, bro.
Barkley,
I ain't
Pippen,
buying it.
Olajuwon. And
Well,
oh
we
my
sat
God.
here the day
Yikes.
after
I ain't-
James
I ain't-
Harden was
I ain't
traded,
buying.
Yikes.
and Matt counted them out from that point forward. He said
Yep.
once they got Harden, they were done for him.
done.
Does this game go? Does the series go 7 then with
No.
Dallas? No. What do you got?
Nope.
Dallas smoking these boys?
I think Dallas gonna run them off, man. 5, man.
I don't hate it.
Ooh.
I like that.
Ooh.
If
And that
Kawhi
way,
is injured, I can see
and that way you can fast track PG to Philly.
And if you want to talk on that for a second, 33-year-old Paul George on a max contract. Come on now. How do you feel about
Y'all
that?
get to buy his
I'm taking over James Harden, who y'all.
Oh no, I agree. No, doubt. I'm just saying once you get
with him,
a
and he don't worry about the
33-year-old
strip
injury
clubs all
prone
the
Paul
time.
George, and I like PG,
But he
but a 33-year-old injury Paul George to a max contract at 33 years old.
But he
that's
plays
scary.
on both sides of the ball. You can give him a 2-3 year deal.
Yeah, he's even at his. You got to think about this about Paul George. If he starts to decline, what's the worst case scenario? You have a Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler-ish type guy.
If he's able,
I
to
take that.
If he's able to stay on the floor, if he's
He
healthy.
don't have tons of health problems.
Paul George?
He doesn't have bad health problems.
Not
He said that
recently,
one
no.
break? Yeah, he
Yeah,
just
not
had
recently.
that
Hasn't had, yeah.
I'm just saying, the older you get, those tend to come back up. I think for a career, I think you could say he's
Listen,
had a
he's still
I mean, he
6'10"
did.
and can play 1 through 4.
I mean,
That's
his
somebody
leg
you
was shaped like an L one
Yeah,
time.
that was.
I mean,
Yeah, let me say he came back phenomenally from that.
God,
And again, I got the
You know
Paul
what I'm
George
saying?
backpack. It's here with me today.
That
Oh,
boy
Paul
had the
George
Tetris
died.
L, man.
I would have
You
loved
know?
him 3 years ago.
You know what I'm saying?
And again, he's better than again.
They rebuilt him
we'll
though,
see how
man.
it
Like the
goes.
$6 million man now, man. They rebuilt him.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Shout
there,
out to
but
you. I know you old heads are gonna get that. The young
Me
people
and Matt
have
made
no
our
idea
picks.
what that is.
Rachel, I think you took Dallas.
Dallas.
Jason and
Dallas. Yeah.
Dallas. Nobody taking the Clippers here.
No.
That's right. We
No,
don't
I
want
gotta
to
get
Dallas in
Luka and
7.
Kyrie, no.
Dallas in 7 for me too. I'm
Free
all over
bones.
Dallas and Luka and
Free
Kyrie as
bones.
well.
Free bones.
Minnesota and Phoenix. Another great one here. Number 3 Minnesota. Number 6 Phoenix. You talked about the Suns, Jason, here in this one. I think it's going to be a great series. I think this one could also go 7 games.
Suns
Cat
gonna
is
beat 'em.
returning. I'm going
got the
Suns
Suns?
in 7. Suns in 7
Suns, I
games.
like
I ain't a believer in Gobert and Karl Towns.
Playoff Gobert could sometimes
Playoff
be
Gobert
exposed.
is trash because playoff Gobert can't.
Gogurt.
Yeah, Gobert.
But the big difference
He
here,
can't-
right, we
he
saw
can't
that
defend
last
on
year,
the
but
perimeter,
Anthony
man.
Edwards so good that he can make up for it. Now it could be his
Edwards
playoff
is-
front for Minnesota.
And
They're gonna need him to be MJ, right?
I love Anthony Edwards.
I know,
Everybody
we
knows
all-
how I feel
yeah,
about
yeah.
Anthony,
Ant-Man is
but
amazing.
still got Gobert there, man.
And Cat returning from that injury. We'll
Mr.
see how
8
he
first
does.
round draft picks. But yeah.
Man, one of the biggest. I think we talk about that at nauseum too all the time.
Herschel Walker traded in an NBA.
And
Jesus
Karl
Christ.
Anthony Towns is Karl Anthony Towns, man. I'm sorry, man.
Phoenix in 7.
Can't do it.
I got Minnesota.
Minnesota 6, 7.
She's a believer. All right.
So did 6.
I know I said
Finch.
that the Suns could come out of the West.
Don't you change your
It's been 5 minutes.
bro.
So I'm gonna stick with it.
Okay,
There
there
you
you go.
go.
But again, but to back you up, Jason has been on Minnesota a lot part of the
I've
year.
been on
too. I think you
Minnesota
picked
the entire
Minnesota
season.
earlier in the year to come out of the West. I mean, before we got to the
I did, but
playoff
again, I think in this series, the experience of Durant and the experience of the Phoenix team in general is what's going to win this series. I think there going to be some matchups and some schemes
I hope
that
so.
the Wolves are going to be ready for, and I think Durant's extensive playoff experience. I mean, he has won a lot of playoff games in his career single-handedly. And then you have firepower with Booker and Beal, sir.
Who?
Bradley Beal.
There we go. Say
Who
it.
is this Beal
St.
guy you
Louis
guys keep
finest,
talking
Bradley
about?
Beal, sir.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Phoenix.
Never been a 1A guy, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
Phoenix signed Grayson Allen today, 4-year
You
extension.
thinking of John Wall?
I like that.
I mean, respect is due.
Who you say? I'm sorry.
Grayson.
Grayson Allen, 4-year extension.
come on, man.
Just the way with the luxury tax. and all
Trash,
this-
man.
Hold on, Kick
I want
Push.
to say the way they had to do it today, just with the construction.
Kick
of the
Push got
roster.
signed to a
Yeah.
contract.
Okay.
Kick
I
push is
like
crazy.
that.
I think he leads the NBA in 3-point.
Yeah, I like
sucks.
Grayson.
He
Oh
sucks.
my
Get him
God.
I
out
like
of here.
Grayson. He was a Duke boy. I like.
No,
They're doing these
He's
are
a cheater.
Oh,
Nah,
Those
nah.
are like
Let's keep it.
tight.
Let's
It's
keep it a
crazy.
stack. Let's keep it a stack real quick
Okay.
for a minute. Here's the problem I have with Grayson Allen.
Uh-oh, here we go. Here it is.
Grayson Allen is the case study for why people think there's double standards when it comes to race in sports. Because Patrick Beverley, a lot of people think Patrick Beverley's this uber dirty player. Dog. Everything that Patrick Beverley did in high school, elementary, AAU, you add up all his worst plays, they don't even come close to Grayson Allen, bro.
No, they don't.
Grayson Allen has been one of the dirtiest guys that's been around. You
Since
like
high
Ric Flair?
school.
Since
I'm
high
the
school.
dirtiest player in the game.
Roddy
That dude's
Piper.
the dirtiest player in the
You're
game,
not
bro.
cheating. You're not trying. That's what they say.
That
right?
dude fractures wrists,
No, absolutely.
trips things, all types of. Look, man, people can say whatever they want. Look, he got his money. Congratulations for tricking the system and thinking that you're a really good player, but you're really not. But whatever.
I think he was a
He
good
can shoot,
signing
though.
for them. Led the NBA field goal percentage, a 3-point percentage for what they've got already with those three, and they got not a lot of wiggle room with that cap space and roster. They're able to lock him up, and they're gonna have to pay a little extra at that luxury tax.
So say that again.
What? Which part?
The part you just said.
They got to pay a little bit extra. What
No, they have no more wiggle room, right? Because they signed him.
Well,
They did all that for Grayson Allen.
Well,
Shout out to Joe Smith in
with the
Minnesota.
way that
That's
roster,
basically what it
the
come
way
down
that
to.
roster is constructed, they couldn't really get anybody.
Basically what it come down to. You just locked your roster up for a Joe Smith's type player. Congratulations.
I
Shout
personally
out
don't
to
hate
Phoenix.
it. I don't hate it. I
Shout
don't
out
think
to Joe
anything
Smith,
really
though,
of it,
man.
but I
Shout
don't
out to-
hate it.
I love Joe Smith.
Shout out to Joe Smith.
He just was not
he's
the
a
same
great- he's a
dude.
good shooter.
I think he'd be good for that team that they
Yeah,
need
for that team.
for that spot.
What?
But Phoenix, 26
Oh,
points.
Oh, here we go.
What do you say?
The Wizard.
Oh, here we go.
From the Wizard in the back.
That is question of the week. What we got? Let's flash it. Oh, that's a good one.
Boston.
Under the most
Clear as day.
Nope.
It's Boston.
I disagree.
With all the money, we have to win.
I disagree.
Boston.
I think Boston has. I'm thinking they're one of the time ones. Matt, what do
The
you
Clippers?
think?
Nope.
Denver.
Nope. Milwaukee.
Okay.
Because here's why. They're a mid-major team. They've done all this movement to try to get elite players in. They've bowed to whatever Giannis want. Hey, you want your brother to come over? Fine, we'll give him a contract. Show. You want another star? Oh, let's get Dame Lillard. They did all this moving. They
Fire
let
Adrian
go.
Griffin.
They let go of Grayson Allen.
Yes,
who
they
who
did.
is good defensively. Let's give him full credit on that. They moved Drew Holiday. So they've done a lot of movement to try to keep.
Think about 2 years
Giannis
ago.
happy.
They let Dante. Dante was on that Bucks team.
Dante was on that. Yes.
Yeah, and again, I know we don't. As Rachel just mentioned, Adrian Griffin, 33 and 8 was his
Yes.
record before.
And they fired the coach.
17 and 19 with Doc Rivers.
Oh, they've done everything that they want. And this is what you're giving everybody? Denver's won.
And let me ask you this, Matt, just to that point here, when you have Giannis and Damian Lillard, depending what Giannis comes back and how he plays with that injury, say they do get upset, whether that be in the first or the second round, either of those things, if they do happen, were not expectations. Obviously, you have to make that trade. So what do you like? What's the you could now? You got Dame Lillard. You gave up that for Dame Lillard. You got an aging Dame Lillard on that contract now in Milwaukee. What does that look like next? Say that does happen, they get upset first or second round. What do they do next year with that roster?
Rebuild.
And under behind Giannis and Dame.
No, you're going to probably trade Giannis because he ain't going to stay. I think.
And that's another topic of discussion, right? That extension was never signed, right?
No,
Still to this point.
I
It was
really
never
think,
signed, yeah.
I really think if he doesn't go deep into the playoffs this year,
They're
and
not.
they do he's gone. That's just my
What if he
theory.
misses it with injury? How do you feel about it? Would that affect his choice at all?
I think it depends on how the team performs. If the team has a first round exit without him, I think he's going to say, "Look, I can't win with this team."
And
He'll probably be in New York next year.
if
If
Doc
he
Rivers, and if Doc
Yeah.
Rivers is the coach next year for Milwaukee,
No,
I don't
he's
think so.
gone.
He's gone. There's no way.
No
That
matter
quick?
if
Really?
I think he is, unless they get to the final somehow, right? I mean,
What, on 2K?
well, that's what I'm saying. Like that would be the only way that Doc sticks around, right?
Really?
I don't think so either. I don't think so either.
Yeah, I don't think Doc will make it.
I don't
Well,
think
no, me
Doc.
either. I'm with you. I'm just saying that'd be
Doc should stay on
You're saying-
TV.
So you're saying if they do somehow get there, you think
I would.
he's
Do,
out?
I agree.
The Cookie Monster's out, man.
But if Giannis leaves, what do they do with his brother?
Oh, he goes.
Oh,
where
he
goes.
He got
That's
to
He
go.
don't- he don't
So
Milwaukee.
who is going to?
He's going to
And
NBA
entice his brother to go
purgatory.
somewhere?
He ain't never going to get picked up again. He ain't never ever. They were
That's
like,
what I'm
look,
saying.
just
I
go
mean-
down. Just go down to the G League.
He's going to play for the Sioux City Sky Force. He's going to
He's
CBA,
gonna be
brother.
playing for the Wing Chong Tigers. and-
Shanghai Sharks.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even think he can compete in the CBA.
No CBA, no
No,
NBL,
I
or
don't
that
think
mess.
CBA.
Sit down to Mexico?
Maybe Ecuador.
Yeah.
If you're playing in Ecuador,
Pesos.
hey, you
Spain,
playing in
you know,
Ecuador.
I mean-
Dang, he's not even getting the euro conversion. He said you gotta get the pesos.
Western
learn
Conference
Spanish, brother.
Finals predictions in the West.
Telemundo.
Rachel, we'll start with you. It's like
Stop
Charles
looking at
Barkley when he was telling me, he's like, Christine, you better learn to speak Spanish.
Better learn to speak that thing, boy.
Western Conference Finals predictions, Rachel. Start with you.
Okay, so Western.
That was good.
So I'm in between because
I'm
I do
still
like the
torn a little bit
Mavs.
as well.
You like who?
I like the Mavs, but I mean, we're gonna go for.
I don't hate
I see
the Mavericks.
OKC
It's just-
going pretty far. I mean, but then you have Denver.
It's tough.
This is
It's tough. The West is tough.
I'll start, and I'm going to go. I have Denver for sure. I have Denver going back to back. I think Denver is going to win it again. I would like to see a Denver-Boston finals. I think that would be
That would be
a lot
good,
of fun.
yeah.
But if it's going to be Denver 76ers, I wouldn't hate that either. But I'm going with Denver in the Western Conference. Give me, you know what, Rachel? I think
Jokic would hate
give me Denver, Dallas in the
I
Western
like that.
Conference.
Denver,
Finals.
Dallas.
I like that. I like that. I mean, we gotta make this exciting because the NBA.
Europeans be happy with that match.
Oh, you're right about that, actually.
Yeah.
They ain't happy though. They don't like the NBA product, man.
I mean, we just got to make it a little bit more exciting. The NBA has not been really appealing, you know.
It hasn't.
Yeah, we've had
So,
some
I mean, let's
discussions
just
on that.
make it-
Garbage.
The
Right,
product
so, I
is
mean-
boo-boo.
Boo boo.
Well, again, and not to trash college basketball, we watch the NCAA tournament every year, and
Yeah.
I think that's getting I don't want to say worse. It's still fun to
Don't
watch.
you do it.
But
you
the
bash the
quality,
San Diego.
the quality has been, I think, getting worse.
You
as
think
well.
so?
I mean, I guess it's college kids, so you don't hold them to the same standard, but just the I don't know, the ball handling, everything, the no calls. I think I saw 20 million travels in the NCAA tournament. I know they let it go.
You
and
see
I'm
that
okay
everywhere.
with that.
What do you mean?
Exactly.
You see that
I just
NBA.
think-
You see that outside.
I know.
You
You
see
see
that-
the NBA too, so you can't be too mad about it.
It's traveling
I just-
outside right now. You see that
I think
right
you
now?
have a problem with the portal. I think that's where your problem is lying, and I agree with you on that. I think they're giving too many kids too many chances to leave. I think you should only
And
have
that
a few.
we're seeing
I agree.
trickle down to high
One
school. We're
chance-
seeing that in
one-
Delaware.
one transfer.
Limit.
Yeah.
One transfer.
We're
Or
seeing-
you can do 2, but you get penalized.
One
like
in
the old
2 years
school,
or so.
like the old school way, where
that's-
you had to sit out a year. I think the second time that's what you should do.
And that's
the
what's
first
up for
time you
debate.
get the pass. Yeah, sure.
And that's in high school. That's going. They're having that discussion right now in the regulations in Delaware high school sports. You know, they're trying to determine because last year with the transfer in college, we saw tons of kids transferring high schools, and or should they be allowed to play in that first year? Should they not be allowed to play? Obviously, for not necessarily all academic motives. So that's what they're
Are you
trying to
kidding
figure
me?
out.
It's all about academics. Right?
It's all about the books, man.
It's all about the books.
So we'll see what
You're
goes
pro
on
in something
there.
other than basketball.
There you go. That's the commercial. That's the commercial
Right.
for
They're
the
student
NCAA.
athletes. You don't make any money off them.
Matt, Western Conference Finals. You should have changed a long time ago.
Exactly, man. This is the NCAA's fault, man.
Get Reggie Bush's Heisman
Hang
back.
on. Worst
Sorry.
organization
Just saying.
potentially
My
in
bad.
America.
Sorry. Talk about money.
Western
Give him
Conference
his
and
Heisman back.
NCAA.
Western Conference.
I know you're gonna say Denver, right?
Yeah, give me Denver. And then oh my God, this is tough.
Right?
This is tough.
I want to hear this.
I'm gonna go Denver, and I'm going to go. You know what? Give me the Mavs. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I like it. The Luka Kyrie
I,
started
like
going.
Luka
I can't do the Clippers.
I knew you couldn't. I knew it was gonna be tough for you to choose somebody else. That's why I didn't see anybody else you might go with
I'm
there.
blaming the Suns either, so I
Breaking
can't
news:
do it.
Caitlin Clark just drafted number
Number
one
one.
overall to the Indiana Fever. Just
What
for
a
everybody
shock.
at home there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Surprised.
Indiana Fever. You really went out for that one.
Get stay in,
James, we get your Western Conference
stay in
finals.
Big Ten country.
Did we get
We'll
your
talk about
prediction?
that. No, Western Conference.
We all went. Ooh,
Yeah, it's nasty.
and then we'll wrap up here with a little draft preview.
Can Dallas play OKC? Possibly bracket wise.
Yes.
Yeah.
No. That's
can't, right?
Oh yeah,
conference
it's 2 different.
semifinals.
Yeah.
You have Clippers, Dallas, and OKC.
Dallas, Denver. Then.
Yeah.
Dallas, Denver. Wow, we
That's
are
it.
all on the same page
page, yeah.
here
Which means
today.
we're definitely
yeah,
wrong.
you're right about that. So to go against whatever we've said so far here, but the playoffs again, play-ins tomorrow night in the Eastern or Western Conference, Eastern Conference on Wednesday night, and then the playoffs officially underway on Saturday. I think we got a lot of good matchups here this year. Going to be a fun playoffs. As always, we'll see if the Nuggets can go back-to-back or if Boston can complete one of the historically great seasons in NBA history. NFL Draft in Detroit next Thursday. We will be here either Monday or Tuesday next week with our full mock draft show. We'll give you our big boards, some sleepers we have, obviously anticipating how the draft will fall post-free agency now that we know a lot of these teams' needs. It's going to be a fun preview show next week. We could have Bill Harmon, potentially Martin Frank going to be on the show with us here talking some Philadelphia
Nice.
Eagles.
Mark.
So a lot to get into next week, and it's a lot of talk and a lot of movement here. We're going to close out the show with just a little bit of it. We talked about the quarterbacks rising up the board since we spoke. Michael Penix had that pro day, looked really good, ran a nice 40. The vertical was up there showing off his athleticism. Maybe we see him creep up there. We could see potentially 6 quarterbacks in the first round this year. We've all talked about who we might take number 1. We're going to revisit that here right now. It seems as it's almost set in stone now after the trade of Justin Fields and after the meetings with Caleb Williams. He will be a Chicago Bear. I stand by that. I have Caleb Williams as my top prospect in the draft and number 1 overall to Chicago. I know you guys might feel differently. How do you feel now? We've been throughout the process. Here we are a week and a half away from the draft. Jason, has your thought process changed at all on who your number 1 prospect is?
I mean, he's going to be number 1 because they went all out for him. I mean, this is Caitlin
I want
Clark.
to know your number 1 prospect.
My number 1
Is it
prospect.
still the man down in the bayou?
My number 1 prospect, yeah, is Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you would take a number 1 pick for Chicago. It's been gotten a lot closer as the draft process has gotten almost to that date.
So remember, I would have kept
yes, Fields.
Justin Fields and drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. number 1. That's what I would have done.
Again, I have Marvin Harrison Jr. as I believe number 3 or actually number 2 on my big board.
So,
Overall best players.
He's.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
again, with no
Caleb's
leads.
going number 1 for sure.
Yeah.
The Commanders have to take Jaden Daniels. Washington,
It's close
you have
right
to
now.
take Jaden Daniels. You probably won't do it.
There's
You
some-
probably won't be that smart.
Washington's not going to do it.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, coming in right now, if you were to check with Vegas, Daniels is the favorite to go number 2. That's kind of been, we all sat up here talking about the process. That's kind of been where he's slated throughout. And then rumblings this week is a lot of Drake May talk internally in Washington. But a week and a half before the draft, you like to throw out certain things that you just like to throw out there. You got to pick and choose what you believe on some
You
of these
cannot draft 2 Carolina QBs back to back like that. If you're Washington,
Back to back.
you can't do that.
Shout out North Carolina.
You can't. I mean, Tar Heels, no
North
Heels.
Carolina.
And I'll have
Look, you
my
can't do
big
that.
board and mock draft published for the first time this week, coming out on Fox Sports 1290. But I will say I have Jaden Daniels number 2, and I'm
got
with you. I will say I got Jaden Daniels number 2. I'm Washington. I take Daniels. I have a really close with May, 3rd right behind him, but I'm on Daniels number 2 as well.
May should be in your top 10.
I got
Sorry.
Caleb 1 and Marvin Harrison Jr. 2.
Do you think that? I wouldn't hate
That-
it.
that
if you're
could work, though.
Washington.
That
I
could
hope
work.
you wouldn't get it. Matt, you still on Jaden Daniels as well?
course.
And how close is it for you and Caleb Williams for the number 1 pick?
Not close at all. I'm
Not
taking
close
Jaden
at all.
Daniels. I don't believe in Caleb Williams, man.
So are you saying bust? Are you just go as far as to say he's a bust?
I don't think he's going to be a bust. I just don't think he's going to be as good as people have him.
So over-unders came out today in Vegas and strength of schedules, et cetera, what the schedule will come out. Bears set at 8.5 wins. They won, 8 games, I believe, last year. What do you think about that win total? Do they get over 8.5 with Caleb Williams?
No.
No. Yeah, it's on brand with what you've been saying, so I disagree with you in that aspect, but I can see where you're coming from. Rachel, how do you feel about it? And Caleb Williams.
I like Caleb Williams.
Number 1.
I
I'm
think
with
he
you. I
comes
think
in.
I take him
I
number
like
1.
Caleb Williams, number 1.
Since you're a Caleb Williams truther, I'm interested with this. Let me pick your brain here. What does Caleb Williams, would you say, does better than Justin Fields did?
Then Justin Fields?
In
In
that
terms
offense.
of, I think he's a better thrower. He's a better processor at the line of scrimmage. I think he is.
But how much? I guess what I'm saying is if you're saying Caleb Williams
And arm strength.
is an 8 in processing, right? That's because 10's we'll say 10's the
Fields
best.
6.
Okay,
5
Fields
or
6.
6.
Okay, got you. And then throwing ability, you're saying?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely. But for sure. Yeah.
I don't see
Okay.
that.
I think he's a better playmaker. I think, like I said, the processing is a big thing for me. Caleb Williams did not throw an interception on 3rd down in his career at USC and stuff like that. Just if you look at the situational on 4th down, and you go back and watch the tape, he's just phenomenal in all aspects. He's a great football IQ. The quick release, you get off script, he's fantastic. Same thing with Justin Fields, who's fantastic off script. I just think he's better under the structure of an offense. He can take that 3-step drop, get rid of the ball out of his hands quickly.
Who do you think's
But he
better
can
off
run
script?
too. Better off script. In terms of running and passing, Caleb Williams for sure. If you're going to take off the run,
We always gonna be cussing on TV.
what? Yeah,
You don't believe this.
I
You don't
100%
believe this. You don't believe
Listen,
this.
I understand,
There's
and I
no
like Justin
Justin
way.
Fields out the pocket. Are you serious?
There's no way.
I like Justin Fields as a
don't
player, and I'm
believe
glad the
this.
Steelers traded for him. But there's a
This is
reason.
cap. This is
There's a
cap.
reason he went for a
This is
5th
cap,
or
bro.
6th round pick. I mean, I get you guys. Look
It's
for
called
Justin
it's called being blackballed in Chicago because Caleb Williams is coming out the draft this year. That's
Listen,
all it is.
I don't think so. If somebody
If-
wanted or thought that
If
highly of
Caleb-
Justin Fields, they would have
no,
got him.
If Caleb Williams isn't coming out this year, Justin Fields is still on that roster.
That's
I don't care
fine.
what
That
you
doesn't
say.
necessarily mean it's the right move for them. I think, again, you're getting a whole new contract with Caleb Williams. The whole thing about winning is on a rookie deal. That allows you to do so much in terms of
But you gotta be good,
versatility with the roster. You have to have a good team around you for sure. And with that trade for Bryce Young last year, Chicago got all they needed. All these picks. They got 2 picks in the top 10 this year. They got their pick last year. They're able to trade for Sweat, who they now have on the defensive line. The defense was top 3 in the NFL after that trade down the stretch for the final 8 games of the season. You add DJ Moore to that receiving core. You signed DeAndre Swift. I mean, Khalil Herbert was their starting running back last year. If you add to that offensive line and you get Caleb Williams as your quarterback now, and don't get me wrong, he's way better set up than Justin Fields ever was in Chicago coming right in. And again, that's just the way it's going to unfold. And I think he's going to be in a good situation. And I think they go over 8.5 wins this year.
So you do know all the things you said about Caleb Williams coming out of USC, what they said about Matt Leinart too, right? You do know that, right?
No, I was never a Matt Leinart guy.
Oh, but I'm just saying the same thing you're saying about Caleb Williams said about Matt Leinart. You do know that, right?
I disagree 100%.
They said that.
Matt Leinart can't move like Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams was a great prospect in high school. He, again, a freshman year at Oklahoma, he was phenomenal coming in and took over that job from Spencer Rattler and was phenomenal as a freshman. Then he goes to USC with Lincoln Riley, and he finally has Jordan Addison. If you go back and watch the 2022 tape where he has Addison and some of those receivers.
Better tape 2022.
I mean, it's unbelievable tape.
Better tape.
This year was a little bit worse.
Better
he had
tape,
no
yeah.
guys on. I mean, Brennan Rice, Jerry Rice's son, was probably his
The best
best
player.
option on the outside, and that's a third, maybe a fourth-round pick this year. When he had that number one guy in Addison, I mean, that offense was electric as well as this year. You put him in an NFL offense with those guys, and I think it's lights out.
Unfortunately, I think he's a system quarterback.
Caleb Williams?
I think the system he had at Oklahoma with the all-out, like, just
Well, if we're going to talk
fast break
system
offense, if you
quarterbacks,
will.
and again, I like Jaden Daniels a lot as well. I'm right there. They're
You think
close
he's
for
a
me.
system quarterback?
I don't want to say he's a system quarterback, but you look at his numbers at Arizona State. You go to LSU, a new system there with the two receivers that are going to go in the first round, Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors. His numbers skyrocketed. And again, I'm not saying taking anything away from Daniels because I have him right there with Caleb Williams as my number 2. I love this quarterback class, especially those top 3 guys. And then for me, I have Penix ahead of McCarthy and Bo Nix in my quarterback.
As you should.
Wait. Wait a minute.
Yeah, let's talk.
rewind this.
The wizard is spoken.
Rewind.
You say you have Penix.
I have Penix 4th behind Drake May and Jaden Daniels.
Okay.
Quarterback-wise.
So how is Penix not a system guy? Because you want to talk about weapons?
Yeah, you're right. He
You want
the
to talk
best
about,
receiving
you
core.
want to talk
I'll
about
give you that.
not
Yes.
doing anything at the previous college he was at?
Well, I think when he was on the field at Indiana, he was productive. He just could. He had 2 ACL tears, and
Productive?
he was when he was out there. He got hurt.
He was all
He
right.
didn't have those receivers. You're
He's
right.
all right, but he wasn't real. Let's keep it a stack. No one's saying like, yo, he's gonna be there.
What, in Washington? You're saying?
When he was in Indiana.
Yeah, I agree. Same
When
thing
he
with
went to
Jaden Daniels at
Washington-
Arizona State, though.
When he went to Washington, no one said, "Oh, they got themselves a potential Heisman guy."
Same thing with Jaden Daniels, though, when he
He
left
went to
Arizona State.
LSU.
Yeah, it was just, I mean,
Would you rather go to LSU or Washington?
Yeah, well, who made the playoff?
Well, that's
Washington.
Sure, they have more talent.
Oh no, not in
On
totality.
the offensive side?
Yeah, no way. You got 3 guys in the first round for LSU. You have Jaden Daniels and both receivers are going in the first round.
Right.
For Washington, you got Penix and then Rome Odunze, who's Rome Odunze, my number 1 receiver. I have him ranked ahead of him.
their offensive line.
Good offensive
Right.
line.
That's what
But I'm saying overall, if you were to look at it like recruits and prospects like that, LSU blows them out of the water.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, sure, if we count in the whole, but let's not act like.
So where do you have? So you have McCarthy and Bo Nix over Penix?
I don't have McCarthy that high. I think
Yeah, and
he's-
again, McCarthy is the guy that's skyrocketing down. I know we all don't feel
Why
that way
is he
about him.
skyrocketing? What is the
This is
cool
what they
thing?
do.
It
They
must be
find
the
that
Michigan.
one guy,
It's
man.
the Michigan effect. I mean, he wasn't asked to do. The numbers are good. He's the most efficient quarterback in the league. But it was
he's
a run first
serviceable.
offense, right? He had good receivers. It was a run first offense. He had a great offensive line, a great run game. He did what they asked of him to do. It's just he was never asked to do much.
But again, an NFL quarterback has to take over a game. I don't see that in J.J.
Yeah,
McCarthy.
I agree with you. I agree with you there, and that's why I wouldn't take him in.
I don't have
at
Michael
least the
Penix
first
that
round.
high either, though.
To me, and again, a lot of people feel that way. For me, I mean, I'm not sure where I'm going to slate him if first round, second round. I know where I have him in my quarterback rankings. Again, if you watch him, he does have the pocket presence. He can move around. He actually can move. I know people don't like to say he's athletic. He's athletic.
Who?
Penix. He can move back there. I know people say he's more of a stationary pocket presence. He can move. He can elude rushers in the pocket, and the quick release and that arm strength is unmatched. It's unbelievable. I like him there. I think he could
I ain't
maybe
see all
be
that
okay.
this year. I gotta be honest with you. Man.
That arm strength and that quick release. Again, if you go
See,
back and watch the tape, I think
Here's
it
the
stands
problem
out.
I have with some of these quarterbacks that are coming out, and in particular McCarthy and Penix,
Mm-hmm.
and even to some degree with Caleb Williams. And it's the one thing that no one really talks about until they get to the NFL, and then it's like, oh yeah, look at that. And it's to extend plays. Every quarterback, if you put them in a situation in college, for the most part, unless they're an option QB, they got all the time in the world back there. When they're sitting in the pocket and they got some pretty good offensive linemen who are going pretty high in the draft, yeah, I'm going to sit in this pocket and I'm going to be chill. Matt Leinert's a prime example, right? Then you have talent that's around. I'm not saying none of these guys are Matt Leinart, but I'm just using him as an example. You look at Matt Leinert's college tape, it's crazy. And he had crazy talent, but he also was really good in that pocket. In that pocket, he was amazing. When he went to the NFL, the reason why Matt Leinart didn't do well, it wasn't just because he didn't have the talent around him like he did at USC. It was also because, dog, you got 1, 2. That's it. And at that case, dog, if you ain't make your progressions, then the next thing you got to do is extend plays, and that's moving out of the pocket or making room in the pocket. And a lot of these guys can't do that. So like Patrick Mahomes, a prime example of Patrick Mahomes, people ripped him in the draft process because they said, oh, this guy, he doesn't see the field that great. He makes wild throws and all this other stuff. But what's the number one thing we talk about Pat Mahomes? That he extends plays and he makes unusual throws. Yeah. That's what we talk about. Lamar Jackson, another guy that when he sat in the pocket, people say, oh, I don't know. He can't process things. I don't know about. Then he makes plays and he adjusts. That's the thing that people keep missing on with these guys. Yeah, when you're sitting in that pocket and you're pretty, yeah, great. But, again, you got 3 seconds. Just to let everybody know, too, Cameron Rink went second and Cardoza went third. So
there we go.
Shot. Yeah, so that's my only thing with the quarterback position, man. I just think, look, everything's good and everybody's fine and happy, yeah, but Caleb Williams, when that pocket breaks down, can he really adjust? Maybe. But I don't believe in Penix. I don't believe in McCarthy. I think Drake May's better than those guys in that situation. So
yeah, all three of those I got 1, 2, 3 coming out. Like I said this week, and those three are close to me with Williams, Daniels, and then May sliding into that third position. But of course, Marvin Harrison Jr., the big prospect that's non-quarterback that's mixed in there. So it's gonna be interesting to see where he goes. Arizona. Getting a lot of calls at that number 4 pick from teams that either want Marvin Harrison or teams that want a quarterback in the draft. So a lot can unfold in the next week or so, but next Thursday night is going to be a lot of fun. We'll break it all down. 4. So we're going to break it all down on Monday of next week. We'll get through every pick, team needs, etc., and
shout out to the
what you can expect. And Kyler Murray for everyone wondering out there from Matt. So that would get us a little bit of a wrap up of the draft. We touched it all. Closing words as we go around on a Monday night. Playoffs underway Saturday. Play-ins tomorrow. We are cruising right into the NBA postseason. And then, of course, the NFL draft. And then we'll be here and talking about the NBA draft shortly after that. So a lot coming up here.
Folks, watch ESPN tonight for WNBA Draft. This is probably the biggest draft hype-wise, talent-wise since the 03 NBA Draft. Watch it. You'll enjoy it.
I agree.
Rachel, closing words? Anything else?
I agree with Jason. The WNBA draft is going to be very exciting. I am looking forward to see the second and third round picks. We know who's going to be the first top 10. We pretty much know. And I think the top 5, top 7 are all the names that the media pushes in our faces. So, we know that. Let's watch it to second, third round. Let's see where it goes.
Yeah. It's going to be a fun one. And again, look out for some of the prospects that Rachel was talking about here on the show. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, so I want to give a shout out to, somebody who I followed the journey a long time. Her name is Sasha Harris. She has her daughters in this draft, Mackenzie Forbes from USC. So she's going through a long journey, and just watching it and possibly seeing her get drafted tonight's pretty exciting. She's moved around, things happen, injuries, all types of things. Yeah. So it's going to be really fun to see what happens to her. I think she's projected in the second round, so we'll see.
It's awesome.
And again, it's just awesome to see that this is a topic that we're all able to talk about, right? The WNBA draft now being the hot topic of discussion, obviously trending in the right direction. A huge draft tonight. So again, as Jason said, tune in right when we sign off. You can check it out here for the rest of the evening. Interesting fact, Cameron Brink, you know who her godparents are?
Stephen Curry, right?
There you go. Yep. How about Stephen Curry's parents and their god siblings? Steph Curry, her parents are Steph Curry's godparents as well. So a little fun fact for everybody ahead or during the WNBA draft.
Look at you.
Some things like
Bring back the Houston Comets. Serena Williams wants a team. Bring back the Houston Comets. Let's go.
There you go. Closing words from Jason McCall. That'll do it for all of us here on DETV and a Monday. Special thanks to Dennis. As always, we will see you next week for the draft preview show. Enjoy the playoffs.